Welcome back. This is Beyond the Box Score. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Jacob Gibbs. And Jacob, let me ask you this question. Today we're doing our bold calls for the 2025 season, our flag plant player, we only get to pick one, and little bonus edition, listener questions, but also the players we're most scared to be wrong on. Who is your prediction for the player that I will be most scared to get incorrect this season?
The Kansas City Chiefs situation, Rashee Rice versus Xavier Worthy for the show would be a good one. Also, you're not joined as always by your co-host Jacob Gibbs. For anyone watching on YouTube, this is Bold Take Jake coming in today. This is my alter ego. So he's got some. He's got some.
Puts on a backwards hat and a plain black shirt, and all of a sudden he's got his alter ego going. I like. Oh, we changed Bold Take Jake.
This is Rage Against the Machine. It's not a plain black shirt. We're coming in hot.
Bow, 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 bow. All right, we'll never do that again. All right, let's get into this thing, though. Let's dive right into some fantasy discussion. I want to go right into this, Jacob. Give me your first bold call.
This will surprise no one. It's RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey, top 5 PPR point producer at RB, dating back to 2000. A span including 798 individual team seasons. Sean Payton is responsible for the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 6th highest RB target totals.
Wow.
Only 45 instances of a team's running back group recording 150 or more targets during that time. So that's 45 out of 798. Sorry. So we're looking at, I think it was like 8%. Something around there. I think I did my math wrong. I think I did it based off 978, but it's not a high number. It's below 10%. 9 out of those 45 teams with 150 or more targets were Sean Payton coach teams. So 9 out of 17 Payton seasons have resulted in 150 or more RB targets. So we're looking at over a 50% hit rate for Payton coach teams with 150 or more targets. And there's like another 4 or 5 teams that were at like 140, 138. Just a real common theme here with these teams. And that includes one of his seasons with the Broncos that had over 150 targets. Even last year with the running back room truly giving like almost nothing to Denver's offense.
Individually speaking, yeah.
20.5% of the team targets went to the running back position. So that was the 5th highest in the NFL. Running back targets have been worth 1.57 PPR points. Dating back to 2000, Sean Payton running back targets have been worth 1.66.
Ooh.
For comparison, running back rushes have been worth 0.59. So we're looking at nearly 3 times more PPR points per running back target than per running back rush. This is all baked into the RJ Harvey projection. And it's, I think there might be a natural inclination here to push back and say, well, he's not going to get the passing downs. That's J.K. Dobbins. That's what we've heard so far, is that Dobbins is going to be, the veteran in there to pass protect and be trusted in that role. First off, we don't know if that's going to be the case, especially late in the season. And second off, you don't get any points for pass protecting. And third, this team really prioritizes the running back through the passing game on early downs.
True.
So over the past 2 seasons, Javonte Williams has 54 play action targets. Breece Hall has 46. No other running back has more than 40 play action targets or worth more than non-play action targets at all positions, including running back. And then if you look at league-wide trends in terms of running back targets, on 1st and 2nd down, running backs are more likely to be targeted. 19.9% league-wide of the total percentage of targets go to the running back position, compared to 15.3% on 3rd and 4th downs. If you look at Payton coach teams, it's an even wider gap. It's 20.5% of total targets go to the running back position on 3rd and 4th downs, compared to 27.4% on 1st and 2nd downs. And if you look at the Broncos, it's even wider. On 1st and 2nd downs, it's 28.1%. On 3rd and 4th downs, it's 16.7%. So they've been 68% more likely to target the position on early downs than later downs. You do not get points for pass blocking. I really don't care if RJ Harvey is like missing out on 3rd downs, especially early in the season. And on top of all the receiving stuff, Harvey was freaking awesome as a rusher in college. I think it's like we have seen this 13 rush sample size in the preseason, and people are like getting real nervous about RJ Harvey and maybe he's not a good runner or whatever. We'll see. But what we do know is that this guy had more explosive runs in his collegiate career than Ashton Genty. Nobody beats Ashton Genty when it comes to college stats. They played similar levels of competition, and both were the clear offensive engine, the player that defenses had to key on to try to stop. And they were similarly effective. Harvey had a minimum of 92 scrimmage yards and at least 100 scrimmage yards in 24 out of 25 games across the 23-24 seasons. He had 30% of the team's scrimmage yards, 43% of the scrimmage touchdowns. Compare that to Genty, who's like one of the best running back prospects we've ever seen, and they truly did play similar levels of competition. It was 37% and 41%. So comparable. Even with UCF getting clobbered, they lost 8 of 9 games to close the season. So, we make excuses for, the 24 season for Ollie Gordon, the team gave up and everything. UCF was getting destroyed to close out 2024. Harvey averaged 151 scrimmage yards during that stretch with no fewer than 110, 6.5 yards per rush during that stretch. No game with a per rush average below 4.7 yards. That's insane. They were almost all losses. They were playing ranked teams. He scored 55% of the team's scrimmage touchdowns during that stretch. The only threat offensively, and defenses couldn't stop him. So no, I'm not worried about 13 preseason rushes. I think there's a pretty good chance that Sean Payton knows what he was doing when he drafted a 24-year-old running back in round 2. That's extremely rare. This team is trying to compete now. They're trying to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They thought this piece was really important to bring in. Probably more important than the veteran that nobody seemed to want they signed after the draft. So no, I'm not that worried about Dobbins. I think that there's truly like explosive top end RB1 type upside here with Harvey.
I love it. And I think this is a good indicator for us as we move forward and for the listeners of what we like to do with our rankings. Both Jacob and I have RJ Harvey ranked really high. Jacob has him ranked even higher than I. We're not ranking based on median outcomes. We are playing fantasy with specific mindset. At least I am, Jacob, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure you are. We play to win the league. We view it as if we're not first, we're last. I'm not trying to get third or fourth place. I'm not trying to grind my way to the playoffs. And I made the playoffs again this year. That's cool. Like I'm competitive and I can follow it through week 17. No. I want to win my league. That's
you don't
all
play.
I really
you don't
care.
play to just play. You don't play to just play. You play to win the game.
Yeah.
Can we bring that back? Can we bring Herb Edwards back?
We should bring Herb Edwards back. You play to win the game. But seriously, though, and I don't knock people. Some people do play fantasy for more median style. They want to be competitive. And in some areas of the game, I do respect it. In round 1, I don't hate that play of going for a safer bet. But when you get into the range of where the RJ Harvey types are being drafted, I want to take a chance to buy a league winner. And you made the strong case for why he can be a league winner. In addition to some other things that you mentioned a little bit of, but I really like even more, the offensive environment is really strong, man. Like this offensive line returns all players and is going to be arguably top 7, maybe better offensive line this year. In addition to that, Bo Nix could legitimately take a step forward this year. If Bo Nix takes a step forward this year as a quarterback, that just means a lot more scoring opportunities for Harvey and anyone who plays running back there. It's another plus in his column. RJ Harvey was probably our first breakout player on this podcast. We had sleepers like Ja'Cory, but we just loved his tape, both of us. I thought it was top 3 overall tape in the entire class. Genty, him, Scattaboo for me. I'm not saying those are the 3 best backs. I think, look, Hampton was a better back than both of them by far. He has a different skill set. He's a bigger back. He's faster. He's stronger. That's not what RJ Harvey and Scattaboo aren't aren't the athletic marvel types, but they are the production types and they are explosive in their own right, especially RJ Harvey. Now, the one pushback I'd say is if you're looking to play devil's advocate, and I'm not because I love RJ Harvey, it's when I watch the Tennessee offense, there's a little bit of Mickey Mouse to it. I think Gus Malzane's offense is a little bit Mickey Mouse to it, UCF. So I do respect the comparison of Genty played bad competition. So did Harvey. Let's not knock Harvey for that. But Genty played in a little bit more of a real offense. So, and that is something we may have seen a little bit this preseason when he's bouncing some runs outside. I don't think it's going to be a problem, dude. I think Sean Payton can totally scheme him in spots where he's going to take advantage of. But it's just something to consider. Will it translate from that Mickey Mouse offense to the NFL scheme?
I think that's totally fair. Lord Reeves brought that up as well. And I think that is what keeps him from maybe getting this top 5 level, or like keeps him from getting enough playing time if they do end up preferring Dobbins between the tackles and stuff like that. I just felt like from watching his film that like when he was asked to kind of navigate that traffic, he was very good at that. But it is a smaller sample size, and like it's a harder projection going from that kind of an offense for sure.
Completely agree with that take, by the way, and that's why we're so high on RJ Harvey. All right, I will get to my first bold prediction now, Jacob, and then we'll take a quick break. My bold prediction, my first one at least, is Christian McCaffrey will outscore every single player in the entire fantasy pool by over 100 PPR points in full point PPR leagues. Now, for a little bit of history on this, Christian McCaffrey twice has outscored the entire position of running back by over 100 points, once by 101 points and once by 157 points as recently as 2 years ago. Obviously, last year was an injured year, but last year we were drafting him at number 1 overall with the thought in mind of, wait a second, this guy's got a calf injury. And I know Kyle Shanahan said if we were playing right now, he'd be ready to go. But the guy was already injured and he was being drafted at 101. He's not injured right now, fully healthy with a great offseason for everything we heard. I mean, I don't know if you want to buy into it, but Kyle Shanahan said he's clocking 23 miles per hour on the GPS. It's probably a joke, but he obviously looks fast out there and he looks fresh out there. And yet we're not drafting him until sometimes as late as 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 overall. Are we playing to win fantasy? This is one of the only guys who's proven he can not only lead the position in scoring, he can lead every position in scoring and do it by over 100 points. Now, in addition to that, he also has the best and most easiest schedule he's had in his entire career since going to the 49ers. I looked back at that, and that's projected schedule, obviously, Jacob. But man, when you're playing the 2 South divisions, you don't have to do much projecting, dude. These are going to be some of the silkiest matchups you can find. It's the AFC and NFC South, man. We're in domes. We're in warm weather. We're playing the Jacksonville defense. We're playing the Falcons defense. We're just flowing through some of these matchups with great ease. In addition to that, let's add to the fact that we've got injuries to Ayuk. We've got potential injury to Jennings. This passing game could revolve more around CMC than it ever has in the early part of the season. Everyone's saying, oh, draft George Kittle, he'll be funnel targets. What if those targets go more to CMC and he just becomes this PPR nightmare for you if you're facing him in a week-to-week matchup? And Adam Levitan talks about this, but it's funny to me, Jacob. We'll go into week 1 projections, and CMC is projected to score 4 more points than any other player. Well, why would we not just draft him number 1 overall? I get it, the injury risk, but how does Derrick Henry not have that? How does Saquon Barkley? How does anyone have that? You want to give me a second year back? He's still just as likely to fall wrong and unfortunately have a major injury. That's a lot of luck from an injury standpoint. So easiest schedules career, potential for more targets early on, the history of outscoring the position by an insane amount. I just love everything about it. Trent Williams back and healthy. To me, I think we'll look back at this and be like, why did we not just draft him 1 overall in PPR leagues?
I think the Deebo Samuel being gone aspect of it is really important.
I forgot that.
For the target projection. So CMC has averaged more fantasy points per game when like in healthy games with the Niners than he did with the Panthers. And the Panthers is what we think of as being, like the league breaking upside because he had so many targets. His targets have dropped almost like in half from Carolina to San Francisco. I think it's like 8.5 per game or something ridiculous to like 5.5 per game. That could change in a big way. If you look at his splits with Deebo off the field, his target per route run rating increases substantially. So yeah, there's just massive upside here. I one of the hot takes I toyed around with was like Brock Purdy for MVP. I think
I like that.
We like the schedule a lot, and Juwan Jennings is back at practice. If CMC's healthy all year, if Trent Williams is healthy, like they could just put up some crazy numbers. And CMC is the highest upside way to place a bet on that. If Brock Purdy has an MVP season, that's great. But like, what is that? Like probably QB3 or 4 or 5 overall or something like that. Like that's great. But like CMC turning in one of these seasons where he's the top scorer in fantasy, like that's huge.
And he's done it twice already. In addition to that, I mean, I always talk about this, Jacob, but I'll mention it again. It's the least predictable thing, but it's still insanely important in our game that we play to score touchdowns. It's a lot. And I know it's hard to predict, but there was a stretch in 2023 when CMC would enter every game and you'd go on your sports betting app, shout out DraftKings, FanDuel, however you play it. And he'd be minus 200 to score a touchdown or minus 175 to score. Like he's going to score a lot of touchdowns with an easy schedule. And that's going to be a lot of points. So I'm all in on CMC this year. And look, if you are that worried about the injury situation, which is not anything yet, but just, I guess, his age and history, you can get Brian Robinson insanely cheap as insurance policy. And that's something you should do, I think, because he would step in, I think, and be a very productive player in that system. So I think you can get cheap insurance on it, and I think the upside is there. Let's get to your next bold prediction for the 2025 season.
Is it break time?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Bad hosting.
The touchdown. I just want to bring up on the touchdown point.
Then we can.
That's why he has outscored his Carolina self.
Right.
Is just because of touchdowns, it's pretty crazy because, like I said, with RJ Harvey, these targets are worth so much in PPR formats, but still CMC has scored more with San Francisco because he's just like a live bet to score 1, 2, 3 touchdowns any given game.
Yeah, without a doubt. So anyway, back to this for a second. We're going to take a quick break. That was bad hosting on my part. But then when we get back, we'll do our next bold prediction from Jacob.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, now we're able to do it, Jacob. Before we do that, though, I do want to shout out all of the listeners who have left us a rating and review on iTunes and Spotify. Let me tell you, you are the lifeblood for the show. We are trying to get this show started off the ground. It's new. We need your help. And by leaving us a rating and review on iTunes and Spotify, that will help us move up the chart. So then when people are searching fantasy football, they see our show. And I believe, I don't know if Jacob does, I hope he does, I think he does, that if people listen to our show and give it a chance, they'll stick with us. I really do believe that. I think we're delivering good content, and I'm confident about that. I'm not cocky. I'm just confident. So please do that. And if you do, and you leave a question within that rating review, we'll answer them because we're answering a bunch more today, and we're going to get through as many as we can. Also, if you're watching the show on YouTube right now, please hover that hand over the mouse. You know how I do it. Click like, man. It's a 2-second process. Bang. You hit the like button. We're good to go. That's pretty much all I ask for you. A comment will help too, but throw a like in there and we're good to go. All right. No more filibustering. No more plug God. Let's get the second bold prediction from Jacob Gibbs.
Bold prediction number 2, going back to running back. I presumed that Dan would have 2 wide receivers. And I thought he might have a running back for his third one, but you could go tight end, didn't know. So I wanted to make sure that we had some running backs covered here. And it's going to be Kenneth Walker and or Zach Charbonnet. One of these two, I think, is going to be like a top, let's say, 8 producer on a per game basis. Let's just say Seattle's starting running back is going to be top 8 per game this year. And this is a shout out to the those beautiful people out there leaving 5-star reviews. One person took their opportunity to leave a 5-star review, not to even ask a question, but just to be like, what the hell? Why isn't Kenneth Walker ranked as a top 12 running back in week 1, Jacob? And I just thought that was so funny.
Great review.
But yeah, I'm pretty much like ready to just go all in betting on what we've seen here in Seattle. I've been very excited about Clint Kubiak for some time, and for all the reasons that we've outlined last year and this year on Beyond the Box Score. It's all of the cheat code stuff, the efficiency boosting stuff that he's doing offensively, and then we see it this preseason. And what is there any value in watching preseason? I think in this case there might be. That this offensive line that people were pretty nervous about is just bullying starting defensive line, just like pushing them around easily. Gray Zabel, first-round pick, looks freaking awesome.
Yes.
Like, it's maybe not quite the Graham Barton thing last year, but it's kind of like that, where he is just like pushing people off the screen and stuff. So like, I'm ready to just go in and say, we've got the design screen touches here in the receiving game for the running backs. Kenneth Walker's targets have been trending up anyway. I think this offense could score a lot of points, a lot of close, high-scoring games in their division. And I think Kenneth Walker's a phenomenal talent. I think Zach Charbonnet is really, really good as well. But I do think that everything we've seen is that when the two are healthy, it's Kenneth Walker's backfield. And that's what we've seen from Clint Kubiak as well, is that all along the way, he's had like a lead back. And so I think it will be Kenneth Walker out the gate. And as long as he stays healthy, I'm going to say he's like a top 5, 6 running back in fantasy this year.
It's a bold call. Top 5-6. He went from top 8 to top 5-6. It was an adjustment. I guess bold take Jake will just make adjustments to his takes.
Top 8 for the whole backfield. I don't think Zach Charbonnet is quite as explosive upside as Kenneth Walker. But if Walker's healthy all year, yeah, he could be RB1, man.
I went back and watched a cut up. We'll talk about this a little bit later of Charbonnet that I did when he was a rookie coming into the NFL draft because I thought I wanted the Giants to take him. Man, some of those zone runs, dude, I actually think he might be even better than Walker on zone runs. His patience, his pacing, his tempo, dude. He's one of the smartest backs. I read an article from McDonald who was like, this is one of our leaders of our team already, Charbonnet. He's one of the smartest players I've ever coached. I think that processing, I've talked about a lot with players like Nick Chubb, will allow him to be a standout if he gets an opportunity. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But I like this call. In addition to that, they're like the Niners, bro. They face such an easy schedule. Again, the gift that keeps on giving the NFC South and the AFC South. Just when we get to, November, December, Jacob, and all these players we love are facing the Steelers and Pittsburgh, Baltimore. And then we get Zach Charbonnet, if he's starting, in Indianapolis in a dome against that bad defense that's beat up, or maybe it's Christian McCaffrey in Jacksonville against that Jaguars defense. It's just going to be such a gift. We're going to look at these matches and be like, yeah, that's where the points are coming from. But I do love that call.
I need to get in here and defend Kenneth Walker a little bit because I love all the love that you're giving Zach Charbonnet here, and the chat is as well. Lately, for some reason, it feels like fantasy football community has really come around on Charbonnet and is trying to be like he's better than Kenneth Walker or something. So bold take Jake, we got the freaking hat on. I'll defend Kenneth Walker. This guy's one of the best talents in the league. He's insanely good. Go watch every touch, and I think you will truly be amazed by some of the stuff that he does. I think Zach Charbonnet is probably, if I just tried to isolate the running,
be careful here,
just based off talent, which is really hard to do. I would say Zach Charbonnet is probably a top 20 running back in the league right now. I really have a lot of respect for his game. But I think
you saved yourself. I thought you were going to go worse than that. Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of good running backs.
I know. That's fine. I'm fine with 20. What are you going with Walker?
Top 5. I really think he's so freaking good. If you look at void tackle rates, yards after contact, all that stuff, he creates so much on his own. And I think as I look at them, it is kind of like Kamara and Jamal Williams, how they use the two early on in New Orleans. And so if they're scoring 40 points like the Saints were last year, then Jamal Williams was actually getting some goal line opportunities and being fantasy relevant. But most of the time, he's not going to be. And that's kind of how I see Charbonnet, even though he's very, very good, is probably mostly just a premium handcuff.
Charbonnet to me reminds me a lot of how the fantasy community for years viewed David Montgomery. Not flashy, not explosive in some people's minds. I think he is start, stop, but not long speed explosive and not, I guess, highlight real elusive. But man, when you can tempo your runs like he can, and you have the patience he has behind the line of scrimmage, and then also in addition to that, it's because I was watching those zone runs with Chip Kelly at UCLA. It's once he made that, he was so good at picking the spot to make the cutback. And once he makes a cutback, Jacob, he squares his body so well and drops his weight. And he's like a 220-pound athlete, Zach Charbonnet. He's a big dude. He can get low center of gravity, low through contact, and just drive. So I'm always going to love Zach Charbonnet, man. And so I'm taking him out of this backfield, but I like the call because there are a lot of factors that lead me to believe they can be great on offense, even though I didn't originally feel that way, and I've kind of come around to it. All right, Jacob, let's go here with my second bold prediction, and then we'll take a break and get to our third bold predictions of the show. My second bold prediction, Jacob, Matthew Golden will outscore all rookie receivers, and he'll do it by over 50 PPR fantasy points. Now, he'll be competing with the likes of Travis Hunter, who we love. He'll be competing with Igbuka, who everyone loves. He'll be competing with, who else would we say is in the mix there? Am I forgetting somebody?
Tedero
McMillan, the most important, the expected best rookie receiver by far. But no, it won't be any of them, my man. It will be Matthew Golden. And let me just start with this on Golden. I have never seen a steadier drumbeat in a rookie offseason, or at least not this year, than Matthew Golden. It starts with that family home game, that Packers, they have their family night, which is basically their scrimmage, and he dominates the scrimmage, and everyone's talking about him. Then he has that big catch in the preseason where he does an incredible job adjusting the football, shows late hands, shows strong hands, shows the ability to separate, shows the awareness of where to be, body positioning, body control. Then you listen to some of the stuff that they're saying, man. I heard I heard Jordan Love say we're going to give him all the targets we can give him yesterday. I heard Matthew LaFleur say he's just so mature, and it's been so nice to have these veterans really bring him along fast. I'm talking about a player who is known for his speed, is known for his separation. Obviously, he ran that insane 40 time, but that's not what I like about him, Jacob. I love the way that he breaks on those in-breaking routes, which we've talked about all offseason, fitting perfectly with Matt LaFleur's system and with what Jordan Love loves to throw, those in-breakers. In addition to that, I love his late hands, but also his strong hands, man. He attacks the football. He reminds me, I'm going to talk about this because when I went back today before the show, I wanted to watch tape on all the guys that were going to be in my bowl calls just to kind of remind myself of what I liked about these players. And when I watched him, he reminds me of a former Giants player just in this one area of his game, this one trait, the way that he attacks the football with his hands. Hakeem Nicks. Hakeem Nicks had those big hands and used to attack the football in the air. And what I love about that is a lot of times I'll watch receivers. Quentin Johnson was really bad with this when I watched him at TCU. Wait for the football to come to him. So he'll wait. The football will hit his hands. I love the receivers who go out there and they attack the ball in the air. Matthew Golden's one of those players. It's why Jordan Love has so much confidence in him already. And man, look at the upside. He is the number one receiver potentially in this offense, an offense that's been dying for one that's never made a first-round capital investment at that position. Look at what happened early on before the injuries when Christian Watson finally got his run and broke out with the Packers. He was lighting it up. Then the injuries kind of derailed his career. This is a better talent than Christian Watson, a better player than Christian Watson. And I think Matthew Golden, who was held back by Quinn Ewers last year and his inaccuracy, is going to shine with a quarterback like Jordan Love in a system that perfectly fits his skill set. So over 50 points more than Tet, over 50 points more than Hunter, and anyone else you can think of.
I love it. Yeah, I said in the chat, this is the type of show where Dan the Man really shines, because I couldn't go that bold, 50 points over T-Mac, but he could do it. There's definitely like way more upside for touchdowns in his offense than Carolina. Man, that's a hot take. I like that.
Let's see what happens. It is hot. And that didn't even touch on his 4.3 40 speed or whatever it was. Insane 40-yard dash and the ability. Maybe he is Christian Watson. Remember what Christian Watson was for that offense? Big play. And they used him like that. They could use Golden like that too, in addition to the in-breakers. So I think he does everything. He could do everything for that offense. Back, shoulders, in-breakers, deep stuff. So love it. All right, let's take a quick break here, Jacob. And we're going to get into our final two bowl calls, some flag plant players, the players we're most scared to be wrong on, and some listener questions. All right, Jacob, we're back. That's a little, I don't know if you weren't a New York guy. You didn't grow up in the New York, New Jersey area, but I did. And I grew up listening to Sports Talk Radio, and it was Mike and the Mad Dog, Mike Francesca. And he would always be, all right, we're back. So I try to do that impression sometimes to try to hit that thick New York accent, which I'm not great at, but I'm trying my best to be better at. So I want to get better at doing accents in general. Side note, let's get back to your bowl predictions. What is your third bowl prediction?
I will say the welcome back gets me so excited at the beginning of every show. It's like the Beyond the Box Score fan made intro, and then that, man, like I'm ready to roll.
We're rocking.
Yeah, we're going pretty bold here, trying to match Dan's energy. I'm going to say Terrence Ferguson, LA Rams, offers high-end tight end upside by the end of the season. Finishes top 12 on the year, which would be really wild for a rookie tight end. He's going to have to get there with touchdowns, so we're going to need Stafford to stay healthy and the infrastructure to be good. Might even need an injury. But I think there are like a lot of paths to him getting on the field. So it could be wide receiver injury to aging Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua that just shifts things around, gets him in the slot more. It could be more 12 personnel. The Rams could just shift the way that they do things. We've seen Sean McVay be adaptable. He's already talked about kind of like wanting to emulate some of what he's seen with Tampa Bay's run game and stuff like that. So we could see the run game develop a little bit, and this tight end be part of that. Could be a Tyler Higbee injury or him simply beating Higbee out as the year goes on. Yeah. The team loves this guy. So at the end of the year, I think this is going to be somebody who on any given week you're looking at as one of the top 5-6 type of scores, that kind of upside for him. If Puka and Devontae Adams are both healthy, the target totals it's going to be tough to feel safe projecting him on a week-to-week basis. But I think his ability to beat defenses over the top and then also catch and run, this is the best athletic testing tight end in this class. And there were a lot of tight end prospects to like in this class, but he can win vertically or horizontally. And I think that upside is going to be available to him on any given week in an offense that's really good. So he could on any given week pop for 2 touchdowns. And it's definitely something that could happen for him as long as Stafford is there. Just wanted to bring him up because there are a lot of late round tight ends to like this year. And so this is a player that's basically free, but And maybe that's right. Maybe it is just a stash away year. Like it could be kind of like Ben Sinnott last year. But Dan and I both had Ferguson in our top 24. And so I felt good like making him a conviction call for us here, because he's not somebody we've been able to talk about a whole lot because he missed the first couple of games of the preseason. And we've been, focused on the redraft scene, not more so than like the dynasty. But like we both like him, and we both, with our ranking at least, think that he has a chance to be fantasy relevant. So let's do it. Top 12. That would be crazy.
Dude, I actually love this bold call, and it's bold, obviously. I mean, you just we don't need to explain why it's bold. I think anyone listening will think this is a bold call, maybe the boldest any of us will make. But I love it because Sean McVay, like we've gone over this in the past, right? We love a rookie tight end. We love his tape. And we are like, wait a second, the target share looks like he could have a big one. Or, he's got a great quarterback, great situation. Let's draft him. And then he kind of fizzles out. We've had, in the NFL and fantasy world, we haven't had a lot of success with rookie tight ends. But I think in all those situations, they haven't had one key factor. And that's Sean McVay. Sean McVay has proven over his coaching tenure that he's not putting pieces into a scheme. He's scheming around the pieces that he has, and he loves this piece. So he, in my mind, will be designing offense for this player. No offense to Higbee. Higbee's a good, solid player. He's nothing like Ferguson from a schematic standpoint. The things you can do schematically with a talent like Ferguson don't equate to the things you can do with Higbee. You mention it, but he is the 92nd most athletic testing tight end out of 1,338 tight ends who have tested the combine since 1987. At 6'5", 247, this dude ran a 4.63, which is impressive. Even more impressive, a 1.8 10-yard split that shows burst off the line of scrimmage. A 39-inch vert jump for a 250-pound athlete at 6'5".
That's crazy.
That doesn't even make sense to me. But also a 10-foot broad jump. So it's the explosiveness and the vertical ability. It's the lateral and the vertical. He's one of the best athletes. He's basically what I hoped Luke Musgrave would be. He just has to stay healthy. And I think it'll be interesting. Like if Sean McVay schemes offense for him, he could be the third option in that offense right away. Like, why not? Right? It's Puka and it's Devontae, obviously. But then it's like the players we've talked about that you've been skeptical about. Like, what's the dude? The kid?
Jordan Whittington, Tutu Atwell.
He's not doing anything. Atwell. It's like Atwell, you got to put him in motion. You have to get him all these free releases off the line of scrimmage just to give him a chance. You don't have to do all that stuff with Ferguson if you're McVay and you're scheming up the offense. You just have to put him out there and trust him. And that's not always easy with a rookie, but it's a bold call for a reason, and I like it. All right, we're going to get to my final bold call, Jacob. And I'll be honest, I had a little fun with this one. It's a little bit jokey, but it's serious. I think it can happen. And it plays on, and here's what I like. When it comes to podcasts and shows and doing anything in life, Jacob, I'm a big fan of callback jokes. I believe the best humor is callback humor. And that's something that's been popularized with Seinfeld and Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm. No surprise, that's my favorite show of all time. So this is a callback to one of our biggest disagreements on this show. My bold call, Jacob. Travis Kelce.
I knew it.
Travis Kelce finishes second overall at tight end. I can't go bold enough to put him above Brock Bowers, but maybe I can get lucky and there's some no touchdowns again for McBride, and we start to see more targets funneled to Marvin Harrison Jr. McBride takes his step back, and Travis Kelce, my boy, scores the second most fantasy points. And let me just tell you something, Jacob. It wasn't too long ago that Travis Kelce was tight end 1 in 6 of his last 7 years before last year. Well, actually, it was before the past 2 years now. but getting a little crazy with this one. He also, at one point, in Christian McCaffrey fashion, outscored the number 2 tight end by over 100 fantasy points, 102 fantasy points. Now, we think about it and we're saying, okay, this was years ago now. This is 2 straight bad years for Kelce. Who the heck is going to be on him? But let's keep in mind some narrative street stuff that we've gotten already. We've gotten 1, he's in the best shape of his career. He's back to good shape, Kelce. He's looked good in camp. 2, shout out Mr. TD. Wedding shape season, baby. Travis has got a wedding to come up to. He's got to get in wedding shape. And as anyone who knows who's prepared for a wedding, we're dropping weight. We're getting faster. We're getting quicker. We're getting more elusive. Clarity, mental clarity from dropping the weight. He could be playing even smarter this season. And he's a smart player to begin with. So I believe that Travis Kelce is back in good shape. That's been proven kind of just from watching training camp stuff. I believe, too, that age is an overrated factor when it comes to Kelce and the tight end position. Let me tell you why. I'm using some data to support this. Tony Gonzalez, Hall of Famer, just like Travis Kelce, arguably the best receiving tight end ever, if not Kelsey. It's one of those two as far as just receiving goes. I would argue the two best tight ends in history or in recent history are actually Gronk and Kittle, but that is not a debate for this podcast. I think what they do in the run game makes them so much more valuable than a Kelsey and a Gonzalez, but that's not for this podcast. Kelsey, in his final season in the NFL, Tony Gonzalez, Jacob, in his final season in the NFL, he was 37 years old, dude. 37 years old. What did he do? He went out there and he scored 8 touchdowns. He had 859 yards and 83 receptions for the Atlanta Falcons as a 37-year-old. Travis Kelce, only 35 years old. The Chiefs offense gets back to what it was. We see a ton of Mahomes. We see a ton of passing touchdowns. We see Travis Kelce hit that double-digit touchdown mark, which is basically all he needs. We see Mahomes and Kelce look at us and they say to us, Jacob Gibbs. They say to you, Jacob Gibbs, they find your information. They find you and they say, Jacob Gibbs, you really doubted us with the report that we have? You really thought that Travis Kelce, needed athleticism and speed to win? No, I've been winning for years in the NFL with my rapport with my quarterback, my ability to sit down in zone and understand how to beat zone coverage, how we work together. And then lastly, he said, Jacob Gibbs, what are you doing here? Do you not believe in the Chiefs offense anymore? Are you not a real Chiefs fan? And it finally ends with Travis Kelce just looking you in the eye, shaking his head and saying, Et tu, bold take, Jake. Et tu, bold take, Jake. Even you. And that's what happens, man. He scores 12 touchdowns and tight end 2 overall.
Oh, wow. I love it. Well, I mean, to defend my Chiefs honor, at least, my flag plant player is Rashee Rice.
Okay. Good. You've won yourself back among Chiefs fans.
Oh, man. What a year for Trav, man. Mary's one of the biggest superstars of all time. Chiefs win another Super Bowl. Tony Gonzalez type season. Yeah. Wow.
Tony J. All he needs to score second points in the tight end position. Like if he gets 12 touchdowns and McBride gets another 3, he might just outscore him. It's that simple sometimes in fantasy. Like McBride just doesn't score touchdowns. But it's a bold call, man. I mean, look, it's not likely that this happens. This is what all bold calls are. He's had 2 bad years, but I'm buying into the narrative and I'm buying into the rapport. And so let's see what happens. But we'll transition now. We're going to get into our flag plant player. Unfortunately, Jacob is still a little, you got some things to learn, Jacob. You don't just give away the flag plant player. You make them want to hear who it is, but now they know who it is. So at least explain why Rashee Rice is your flag plant player.
Yeah, I blew it there a whole minute early. Sorry. Rashee Rice is my flag plant player. I think he is going to win people leagues late in the season. Flag plant to me is a little different than bold calls, right? This is like the player we're the most convicted about. And I think where you're able to get Rice is just crazy. If you look at his per game, per route, per any opportunity production, he's one of the absolute best fantasy scorers that we've had at any position over the last 2 years, which is pretty insane for a player who's in his first couple seasons here. The timing on the suspension is perfect to get the first 6 weeks to have additional rest and recovery here as he ramps back up to getting into the full swing of things. Young, super athletic guy. So if ever there's a type to place a bet on recovering from, a serious knee injury, it's here. And I think that's important because if he's even 90% of what we have seen him be over the last 2 years as a player, then he's going to crush fantasy. He's top 5 in per route scoring. If you look at any game that Rashee Rice has played more than 75% of the snaps, he's averaged over 20 PPR points per game. The only player who averaged more than 20 points per game at the wide receiver position last year was Jamar Chase. So this is a truly special fantasy point scorer. I don't think that adding Marquise Brown back to the equation or, Xavier Worthy taking a year 2 step.
Tyquan Thornton, my boy.
Yeah, I don't think any of those things hurt him. Yeah. I think they actually only help. I think having a competent deep threat would be huge for this offense and huge for Rice and Kelce and Pacheco and those who work the intermediate short area of the field. Having a better rushing game could help too. Last year, there really wasn't anything that scared defenses,
Fremont had so many carries last year. Why?
Yeah, and so there's a number of ways where this Chiefs offense could elevate from what we have seen lately. And even within that structure, Rice has been this productive. So I'm just extremely bullish on him. I think if there were no suspension and he was just coming into the year, I would probably have him ranked as like a mid-second round pick, like in the same range as like Amon-Ra St. Brown.
In the Drake London range, and I guess you have London a little higher.
So I would have Drake London ahead of him. I would have BTJ ahead of him. I would have Malik Neighbors ahead of him. And I think I would have Sun God ahead of him. And then he would be the very next player.
Over that tier of backs, the Chase Brown, Jacobs tier?
Exactly there, depending on how you want to build your team.
Over the Bowers, or you would take Bowers still over him?
They're all those. Yeah, it's like a group of like 4 or 5 guys that would all be in that range. Bucky Irving, him, Jacobs, Bowers. Yeah.
And depending on your league, you can get him in round 5, 6. I've seen him go so it just comes down to, and I'm with you on Rice. It comes down kind of to you as a fantasy player. I think a lot of people look at suspensions or injuries as death knells for players when it comes to drafting them. They don't want to draft them. They see the tag. It's like, all right, well, but reality is, and a lot of people have done better research on this. I don't have it, Jacob. You may have some numbers at the top of your head. No one really factors in the opportunity cost. Like it's not like when these guys are not playing, Rashee Rice missed the first 6 games. It's not like you get a 0 in that lineup spot where you drafted him in round 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. You put someone in, and yeah, it's the back end. It's the guys who weren't drafted. But if you do a good enough job on the waiver wire, you can find players who can sometimes compete with those disappointing 2nd, 3rd, 4th round fantasy picks. And in this case with Rice, it's 5th or 6th round fantasy picks that you're giving up the cost to get to, you're passing on one of those players to put Rice into your lineup and then bench him for 6 weeks. And when you get to the fantasy playoffs, now you have a huge advantage. So I love this bold call, Jacob. Not a bold call, your flag plant player. It is your guy. We have a bunch of flag plant players, and that's why we wanted to do just one for this show, because you have to pick one player that you're most excited about, that you're most confident about, I would say. And so for me, my flag plant player, Jacob, I don't think it's any surprise to anyone who's listened to this podcast, is George Pickens for the 2025 season. Man, did I feel even more convicted once the Cowboys traded away Micah Parsons. If we were looking for shootouts and positive game script, we are going to get it. If we're looking for a quarterback who is not afraid at all to take what the defense is giving him from a processing standpoint and not just force targets to his number 1 receiver, we've got it in Dak Prescott. If we're looking for a quarterback who's made a career, not off of physical tools, Jacob, doesn't have a great arm, in my opinion, it's not average, it's above average arm talent, and it's not a lot of elusiveness or mobility. He's made a career off of processing the defense pre to post snap, understanding space, having great spatial awareness, throwing with anticipation, and then combining that with ball placement. All of those things are great for George Pickens, who's going to see a constant slew of one-on-one coverage this season for the Cowboys. With the game script, Pickens' volume could be up. With the game script, Pickens' touchdowns could be up. This is a guy who scored 8 touchdowns his first season as a freshman with Georgia. Hasn't topped out 5 because the Steelers are second fewest in the NFL since he got there in passing touchdowns. The Cowboys are the total opposite of that. So he's going to score at least 4 more touchdowns. I think it's going to be 6, 7, 8 more touchdowns. I didn't want to put this in, but I was battling with the idea, Jacob, of a bold call that George Pickens outscores CeeDee Lamb purely on scoring more touchdowns. I can't go there. I love Lamb too much. But I think both of these players are going to finish as top 12 overall receivers this season. 2 players in the top 12. We haven't seen that often. I think we got it last year with Higgins and Chase, but I'm not positive.
Per game, Higgins was like wide receiver 3 or 5 or something like that.
Yes. So we got even more than it, but I don't think we'll get all the way up there with Pickens, maybe more in that 12 range. But man, does this situation with the Cowboys feel a lot like the Bengals of last year. And I think Pickens is talented enough. I'll cite Matt Harmon's work on reception perception, but this is a guy who took a clear step forward, running a variety of routes that they finally let him run. I think he's good on in breakers. I think he's good vertically. I think he's good above the frame, catching away from him. His body control's great. And then you've brought this up, but it's true. His yards after the catch is a lot better than people realize, George Pickens. I think he's a phenomenal player in a phenomenal situation, and he's my flag plant player for this season.
I love it. I think that they could both be like top 5 per game players. That might be insane, but like if everything comes together and Pickens gets the touchdowns, we know Lamb will be there. Like if everything comes together and they pass as much as we expect. But if Pickens also like scores the touchdowns, maybe a little bit more than expected, just runs a little hot with variance on touchdowns, absolutely they could. The Cowboys, in Dak Prescott starts, I don't remember the stat exactly off the top of my head. I think it's like all of them, any Dak Prescott start. They've averaged like 43 PPR points per game from the wide receiver position.
Wow.
Which like only the Bengals have topped. Like their combined and that's like including last year's numbers where it's Jalen Tolbert is the wide receiver 2 and stuff, like they haven't always had a good
Wow.
wide receiver 2. In fact, they often have not had a good wide receiver 2. So I definitely think it's possible that they could tap into something similar to what we saw from Cincinnati's guys last year.
That's an awesome point. And also, you think back to when they were, and that's an average over all the years, including once they finally got their defense right? Because like the numbers went down, but they haven't been as pass volume but they had years before the Dak injury, before that ankle injury, where that defense was like really bad and they were just torching it in the passing game. We're back there now, right? Like Micah Parsons is gone. They have Kenny Clark to hopefully replace him. I get, and not him, but just like help them from a run. Jerry Jones, we're a better team with Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark's 29 years old, coming off his worst season as a pro. And their run defense was already horrible. Mozzie Smith was a total bust. They have no edge talent that I see on their roster that scares anyone. Their secondary is banged up and not that good to begin with. The second level linebackers also have injuries, but they're decent at that point. There's really not much. They lost Dan Quinn. Like there's not much to like about their defense. What there is to like about is their offensive volume. And this just feels so much like a Bengals repeat from last year where they'll be like 31st in defensive DVOA and just constantly throwing the football, which I love for George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Dak for that matter. All right, Jacob, we've done our flag pan players. We've done our bowl predictions. I want to do, this one could be a little bit more rapid fire and then we'll get to some listener questions, but players you're just most scared to be wrong on. And it could go either way, Jacob. It could go, you're most scared to be wrong on them because you're too high on them, or the opposite, which is how most of mine are. Most scared to be wrong. Like, I'm not drafting them. I'm not high enough, and I could totally see where they will be awesome.
For sure. Before we move on, though, I do want to point out that I nailed 3 of your 4 calls. I got Pickens, Golden, and Travis Kelce.
Oh, you did get Travis Kelce, but you were wrong a little bit. He wasn't a flag play. You just mixed them up a little bit. It's good enough, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't get CMC. I was like, who's his? I figured you're going to go running back. I was like, maybe James Cook, but like Cook already had a huge season last year, so how much bolder can you get? I thought maybe Cam Scatterboot would make an appearance. I know the real sickos are going to be upset that I didn't talk about Bayshell Tuden or Colson Loveland here. We talk about those guys all the time, right? So I wanted to kind of like Harvey, we haven't talked about in a while. I wanted to kind of like give us a little conviction on Harvey before we go into the season here. I really still feel great about him. All right, who are we most afraid to be wrong about? This is a good question for sure. I'm going to start with Jameson Williams. I think he's somebody
who made my list.
Probably is here for both of us. Tyreek Hill as well. Xavier Worthy as well. So those are 3 receivers that are just very fast and could have a lot of huge plays because they are very fast. Their offenses could produce, a lot of touchdowns and everything. So I'm a little bit nervous about that because like Tyreek Hill, especially I'm taking Jalen Waddle ahead of Emeka Egbuka, ahead of Ricky Pearsall, ahead of Matthew Golden, players who I really, really like. I still have Waddle ranked ahead of them. And unless I think I can get Q, maybe get Waddle the next round or something, I'm normally taking him ahead of them because I, based off everything I've seen, think that there's a real chance that this is the year that Waddle kind of flip-flops Hill here as like the top guy. That might sound crazy, but like Tyreek he showed that he took a step back last year. And unless that was just off-field stuff and he's like locked in now, it makes so much sense that he's at the end of his prime and Waddle's at the beginning of his prime. And like, that's the player that they're going to emphasize going forward. So like that would crush me if I was wrong on that. Cause it's not just the Tyreek side of it. It's also the players I'm missing out on by drafting Waddle.
Right.
Same thing with Worthy is like, I'm very convicted about Rashee Rice. And so if Worthy just transforms into something that I don't expect, if he makes some big year 2 step forward, then that could impact Rice's targets or something. And so then extrapolating from past season's data might not really equate, and Rice's equation might be different than I'm expecting. And then it's like, man, I really invested a lot into this plan and he comes back and is good, but not great, and I have no Worthy. So both of those would be huge L's for me. In addition, Jameson Williams for sure. I've got a couple other ones. But I'll throw it to you if you want to throw anybody out there.
Yeah, I'll throw a few out there that really stand out to me. The first one is Bo Nix. I haven't drafted any of Bo Nix. I had him ranked too low. I now decided in our QB rankings, I've gone back and moved them up a few spots. I'm scared to be wrong because if things go right for Bo Nix and he does take a year 2 jump, That's just like in addition to everything else he's got working for him, right? Amazing offensive environment. Harvey added to the mix, a great talent, great coaching staff that puts him in an amazing position, good offensive line, all of that. Bo Nix could literally light up fantasy and be the breakout quarterback that gets into the elite tier. Why do I say that, Jacob? Because he runs the football as a quarterback. So he has all the tools if that offense takes a step and if he takes a step. And yet I'm not drafting him anywhere. And I have him ranked too low and I don't have him on any teams. So he's a big one for me. A second one for me, and I'll throw a few and then I'll throw it back to you. A second one for me on that same position, I did him by position, is JJ McCarthy. Not drafting a lot of McCarthy, Jacob. I've shied away from Justin Jefferson at his price. I like Addison at his price. I've shied away from a lot. Obviously, you know how I feel about TJ Hawkinson. But if McCarthy is awesome right away and just fits the mold that we've seen for every quarterback O'Connell has gotten a chance to coach, right? Darnold, Cousins, Mullins for a few games, Josh Dobbs. If he just fits right in, it's going to be a big miss for me, because he's as talented, if not more talented, than everyone I just named, except for Cousins and maybe Darnold. But he also could run because he ran at Michigan. It's tough for me. I see flashes of what I love when I go back. I have so much tape breakdown from him, dude. Like the Giants were supposedly in the mix for him before they took Neighbors. But there's just a lot I don't like. And there's a lot I'm uncertain about. And here's the thing, Jacob, with McCarthy. That Michigan offense asked him to do nothing. And like this O'Connell offense asked him to do a lot from a pure processing standpoint, from a passing standpoint. It scares me, but obviously the upside's there. One more and I'll throw back to you. I think he should make your list too, but I'm not sure. Breece Hall, man, like Jets offensive line is upgraded. They want to dedicate to running the football. Breece Hall was once viewed as one of the most talented backs in the NFL. I love his patience behind the line of scrimmage at Iowa State. He translated. He also has impact in the passing game. Why am I not drafting any Breece Hall? Why is Breece Hall so far down my rankings? Because I don't see where the points are coming from, where the touchdowns coming from. He's on a bad offense, but there's a chance that could be a really good run first team, and he's a really, really good talent. So I'm scared to not have any of him.
Yeah, I got a little bit of him because I was pretty well ahead of consensus for most of the process until the past couple of weeks. But I mean, man, they could have a lot of just so ugly games. Like, right, they're not going to play the Steelers every week, but look at this freaking week 1 game. They're implied for like 17 points. And I have Breece ranked as like RB 26 or something.
Right.
And it's just like, what? But like, that's where it's at. Like, there's a number of things
points coming from.
There's a number of things to worry about. And like, what is the upside really? Until we see him like start ripping off some explosive plays or something and looking like the guy that we've seen.
Right.
I doubt that he's going to make us regret it, because while it's great that Justin Fields like is checking down at a higher percentage than he has in the past, that's still a small percentage of a small number.
I know.
So like, I don't really know how he gets to a whole lot of targets in this offense. So it has to be like great
big plays again.
efficiency.
You're right.
Yeah.
It has to be the big plays again that he used to deliver and just hasn't recently. And maybe the offensive line improvement helps, but they just lost Elijah Vera Tucker for the season with the torn bicep. It's really bad. He's been their most consistent and best offensive lineman. So I don't know. I'm not going to come around to it in my final draft. I have one more big draft. We do my most expensive league, Jacob. For some reason, the commission loves drafting the Saturday of the first. So we're going to miss. It's got after the Thursday and Friday games.
2 games.
I hate that, but he's so dead set on, and it's retroactive stats. So it like impacts the draft.
Right.
Like somebody breaks out, people like go nuts on them. But like if someone has a bad game, like Allen Robinson, remember he had that bad Thursday night game a few years ago? He went for like $4. I stupidly was the guy who bought him, and he taught like he was terrible with the Rams. That was like 2-3 years ago, but he just doesn't want injuries. This commission, he's like, I don't want any chance of anyone having an injury. So we'll draft the latest possible day. Whatever. Point being, I don't think I'll draft Breece Hall in that auction. Another, you want to throw some players out? Then I'll throw some more that I'm on.
Yeah, for sure. I have Brock Bowers very high. I've gone on, other podcasts and debated very smart people to defend Brock Bowers. I have Brock Bowers ranked ahead of Malik Neighbors, and that feels scary to be in that spot because Malik Neighbors is extremely good, of course. And so I am a little bit nervous about that the Raiders are just going to be run heavy, low scoring, the things that Vegas is implying that they will be. But at the same time, man, I can't help it. Like I think he's so good. I think Geno is so good. And I look at this offense, they're really going to have Amari Cooper and Dante Thornton and Trey Tucker out there as the ancillary pieces. Like, how does he not get 30% of the targets? So if we get like any amount of shootouts, if we get any amount of positive regression on the yak, the low yardage after the catch numbers for last year with Bowers, if he's, healthier, year 2 recovered from the tie rope surgery, if we get more touchdowns with Geno, like there's a number of things where we could get a lot more upside than we saw last year. But if we don't, I'm going to feel pretty stupid for taking him over Malik Neighbors, because Malik Neighbors, it's real simple. It's like, if he stays healthy, he's probably going to have a freaking awesome year. He's so good. And like anything is going to be a drastic improvement over what he got last year at the QB position.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And that's, a lot of people I feel like are not drafting him for the reason of they don't have the same opinion of Geno Smith as we do. And that's something that I get. Geno Smith still throws a lot of interceptions, makes mistakes, does poor sometimes against pressure specifically. But man, some of the throws he makes on tape are phenomenal, like best in the NFL caliber throws from an arm talent standpoint and from an anticipation standpoint with Geno. So I think that could all help Bowers. You talked about this a lot. We don't have to go too much into it, but I really liked your point you've made throughout the offseason about Bowers' yards after the catch as a rookie with those bad quarterbacks versus what it could possibly be if these new Geno Smith understands space, how to get them the ball in space, anticipate the space. Because once he's in that space, he's Brock Bowers. He's the best athlete at the tight end position that we have in the NFL by far at this point. All right.
I got one more. It's J.K. Dobbins. Like, if Dobbins
my boy, yes.
If Dobbins is good, that's gonna kill me.
They can both be good. I think I love both Harvey and Dobbins.
Yeah, I've been very aggressive with Harvey, and I have no Dobbins. I didn't even realize it, but I'm like 10 or 15 spots below consensus just in the running back ranks, not overall.
On Dobbins, yeah.
On Dobbins. So I've ended up with none at all. And so, like, if he is good and comes in here and like takes 60% of the rushes or something, and Harvey's like just an expanded version of McLaughlin or something like that, like a Darren Sproles without as much receiving, like that would suck.
Right. That's essentially what I think he could be.
That's it. I think that's unlikely. I think I'm very excited about Harvey for all the reasons we've given. And I didn't see anything from Dobbins that made me think he'll be that. But Dobbins is one of the most productive per touch players in the league since he's been in the league.
What's his yard per carry? It's like around 5 career, isn't it?
Yeah. Like
something insane. Yeah.
And he's like a lot younger than you realize, So
yeah, 26.
If he comes in and is healthy, it wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden we're getting, J.K. Dobbins, RB1 in yards per carry since entering the NFL, 26 years old. Why is this not, a top 12 running back? What are you doing? Like, we've all been sleeping on this guy. That wouldn't shock me.
And I like both. I like both Dobbins and Harvey for fantasy where they're being drafted. I think Sean Payton's offense can support 2 running backs. It has in the past, and I think it will again. Dobbins is one of those backs, like I've mentioned before, my Charbonnet types, my Nick Chubb types. So Chubb had some physical, a lot of physical tools as well. That's just so good at processing behind the line of scrimmage as a runner, so patient, so good with the tempo that it doesn't always flash on tape, but it does, or I'm sorry, in the stats or, if people are just watching highlights, but it does on tape. And I like him a lot. All right. Some more players I'm scared to be wrong on, Jacob. We'll rapid fire through these ones. DK Metcalf, look. You hate him. I hate him for a fantasy standpoint. We're not drafting any. I'm pretty sure you have none of your rosters. We looked at our wide receiver ranking show. He was way down. But same logic I applied to drafting Garrett Wilson and getting burned by him last year does apply. Aaron Rodgers can lean on one receiver. Aaron Rodgers can lean on rapport with that receiver. Aaron Rodgers still throws a great ball despite being a worse quarterback. So it's possible that you're getting the clear wide receiver 1 on a team with a lot of explosive size speed combo. That's great. And a quarterback can still deliver a great ball at an insanely cheap price. So I'm a little worried about that one, Jacob. Not too worried, but a little bit worried on JSN and Ken Walker. You know me, I've been underweight on them all off season. And so you've gone over the plus case for both of those players. We don't need to go in. I had Jameson Williams. I'm going to throw a couple more in. Sam Laporta, no shares of him. A little bit worried. I went back and looked at it. And I was like, wait a sec. Sam Laporta was actually pretty productive last year. I know he was like injured, but then I was like, wow, like per game basis. Okay. He was pretty damn productive. So I have no shares of him, but he just goes late and auctions. He goes for nothing. And it's like, maybe I'm missing some value there. Same thing for Hawkinson. I have 0 shares there. And you know how low I've ranked him, Jacob, but there is still the case that it's a Kevin O'Connell offense. Addison suspended. Will Hawkinson just eat up targets, I guess, beginning of the year? Not so scared on this one. The final one for me was Travis Kelce, because despite him being in my bold call, I didn't roster any Kelce. And the reason being, I have no Kelce shares. And the reason being, at tight end, I've either gone.
What?
Yeah. It's a strategic. It's because of the build.
Yeah.
So I've told you how some of these auctions have gone. Bowers has gone for too little, so I've just bought Bowers in multiple of these. In that case, I'm not drafting any Kelsey. If I draft Bowers, I would never draft a player like Kelsey. It's a stupid waste of resources. In the other ones where I actually have shown the patience to wait, I don't think I'd rather have Kelsey at $8 or $10 in my auction, which he goes for, versus a $1 Colston Loveland. The problem with drafting Kelsey for me, and the reason I have no shares, is I have Colston Loveland as my tight end 6 overall, and I can get him for $1 in every auction, or like the 12th or 11th round in any snake. So I just can't draft him based on that. If there wasn't Colston Loveland available for that cheap, I'd have Kelsey. My teams would be Bowers or Kelsey. But because that's the case, I don't have any Kelsey.
Wild. Okay. So yeah, we really do need to make a bet then, you and I, so you can have some skin in the game here with the Kelsey thing.
Yeah.
I say instead of TJ Hawkinson, who I don't care about at all, let's do Tucker Kraft.
Fine.
Who I have right just behind
there.
Hawkinson, and you have Lowe. I think you had him at tight end like 14 or something like that.
A little higher, but yeah, and I don't love him as much as you do. Yeah.
I think it's basically like where I have Kelsey's where you have him.
Yes.
So I think that's a great bet.
That's the one. We'll think of something to put on the line, but we don't have anything off top of our heads. All right.
Cool.
Let's
By the
transition.
way, J.K. Dobbins' career 5.2 yards per rush average.
Dude's unreal.
Since 2020, Nick Chubb's the only one above 5.1 with him, unless you count Jameer and Devontae Chan. Yeah.
I mean, come on. You get him so cheap in draft. So I don't know. We'll see on that front. All right. Let's transition. Let's finish the show off.
You're going to regret not admitting your fear about the Seattle Seahawks and Clint Kubiak, because I think you're going to be wrong on that one.
That's what I just said. I just said
Jason. Oh, did you say it? I'm sorry. I missed it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's all good.
I swear I listened.
I listen too. Sometimes you miss stuff as an analyst.
You try and keep up with the Chad stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot
going on. J.K. Dobbins.
I do this sometimes too. Yeah, there's stuff going on. No worries at all. I have not worried about that at all. Let's move on though. Let's finish the show with some listener questions that we promised. We'll get to as many as we can. We're limited a little bit on time, but we'll answer others in coming days. So let's do some listener questions. Producer Josh is going to throw those up on the screen, and I'm going to do my best impression of what I did last week, which is reading from the small print and doing my best, which I was actually okay at. So let's see what I can do again. Can we add to stage? There we go. Thank you, producer Josh. We have from what looks like E. Gonzalez, but that's just a guess. I can't see that last name at all. I apologize. It's E something. El Guapo?
El Guaps.
El Guaps says, excellent in-depth analysis, gentlemen. Question for you. $200 budget auction PPR 10-team league, and I can only keep one player total from last year. I can keep Bowers at 11, Chase Brown at 10, or Brian Thomas Jr. at 10. What a draft by you last year. Let me first start by saying that. You nailed Bowers, you nailed Brian Thomas, and Chase Brown. He was thinking Bowers, but now he's leaning Brown. Or does he just really trust Lawrence and BTJ to do it? This is a tough question. Where do you got here, Jacob?
BTJ for me, full PPR, $10. Yeah, I've got him ahead of Bowers.
It is BTJ for me. It's just interesting. Like Bowers, look, it's BTJ because you can get Bowers for cheaper than you're going to get BTJ in your auction. Let's go BTJ.
Yeah, love that.
All right, let's see who we got next. Oh, that is some really, really short for me to read. G Morin, 1 is the name. You know, I am going to have you're going to need a filibuster for me here, Jacob.
I've got it if you want.
Yes.
I would give up Caleb Johnson and a 2026 second. I would receive DeAndre Swift, a 27 first and a 28 second. I love Caleb, but I also want to compile 27 firsts to retool. Classic. Everybody's all in on Jeremiah Smith. I'm thinking Swift would keep me competitive for the next couple of years to keep making championship runs, but I like Caleb, and also I have Warren. So Caleb and a second for Swift, a first and a second.
I would not do this trade at all. I don't know. Did he say it was Superflex or 2QB or no?
No, I don't see anything about format.
Okay. I mean, obviously, if it's Superflex or 2QB.
Look at this. Incredible work, Josh.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Josh. I think in any format, I'm not doing it. I had a conviction on Caleb, projection mostly, based on his physical skill set. Now he has Ben Johnson. I don't want to be selling early on Caleb Williams. The time to sell Caleb is not now, in my opinion. It is if you think he'll fail with Ben Johnson. I just don't.
It's
So,
Caleb Johnson, right? You get that or no?
oh, I thought it was Caleb Williams.
I think it's an
Whoa,
easy
whoa,
deal. You
whoa.
trade Caleb.
Caleb Johnson. This is a lock. You're getting a first back for
Yeah.
Caleb Johnson and Swift. No. I misread this whole thing. My bad. Do the trade. Let's go on to the next one.
All right. By the way, check out the FFT newsletter if you want my rankings and stuff like
Yes.
that. I'll do my best early in the season to be online on Twitter and everything, answering questions, giving you guys rankings updates. But FFT newsletter is free, and that's where you can find it all.
I love that we have a little buffer period between questions so I can do my plugging. Wow, that doesn't sound right. I have to maybe find a new way to discuss us promoting the show. And that will be, please sign up for Jacob's free Fantasy Football Today newsletter. Also, you can actually find his ratings now on CBSSports.com. I just updated the timestamp on those. So if you're looking last second before a draft, just search Jacob Gibbs Fantasy Football Rankings and you'll see one. The next one, though, is coming from Cowboys in LA. A lot of Cowboys fans all over the world, Jacob. You know, I get really, really annoyed, or I used to at least, when my brother and I and dad would go to Giants games against the Cowboys, and you just see so many Cowboys fans there. It's like, and they're all from New Jersey. These Jersey Cowboys fans, you know why they're fans of the team, Jacob? It's because they grew up in my dad's era, or a little after, probably, actually. And they're just like, I just want to be a winner. I'll just take the easy way out. And it was the 90s Cowboys. They were winning a lot of games. They became diehard Cowboys fans. But then they show up at the stadium. They're so disrespectful. They're so annoying. And you know what? I hate Jersey Cowboy fans. I'm just going to put that out there. If you grew up in New Jersey, North Jersey like myself, there's no acceptable reason to pick the Dallas Cowboys as your team. And I don't care. You want to win. You shouldn't have then just. No, that's not a way to pick a team. All right, we're moving on. One of the best, he says. I like you despite that, Cowboys fan in LA. You're from LA. You're allowed to be a Cowboys fan out there because you didn't have a team for a while, and I don't count the Chargers anyway. All right, your take during the season really shine. Thank you. I hope my league doesn't listen to you guys. I hope they do, to be honest with you, but I do get it. I'm a subscriber to the newsletter and the podcast. Good luck. 14-team, half PPR. Would you rather Achane and Chase Brown or Nico and Chase Brown?
Nico.
Yeah, easy one for us, Nico and Chase Brown. I have Nico as my 6th overall ranked player, 3rd overall ranked receiver, so I'm super high on him.
Love to find an FFT newsletter reader.
Yeah, and another thing.
Thank you.
You can please hit the like button if you're still listening or watching, and please leave a comment. As many comments as we can get helps us. As many like buttons as we can get helps us. So just do it for us. Please help us do it.
Please. I wore a backwards hat the whole show.
You did wear it back.
My head is too big to wear my hat backwards.
I need a haircut badly. It's football season, so I just slack on those types of things. I was thinking about wearing a hat. Kevin 22890. The best fantasy football podcast. Thank you. Along with Late Round Fantasy Football Podcast. This is the best data-driven show that he's found. Thank you. And we've had JJ Zachariason on our show, the Late Round Fantasy Football Podcast extraordinaire. So we'll have him more because we like him a lot, as much as he's willing to. His question is, how much do preseason injuries and contract issues impact your rankings? For example, I was very excited about drafting Juwan Jennings and Jaden Reed and Rashee Rice earlier this year, but now with injuries and contract disputes, I'm leaning more toward Ricky Pearsall and Matthew Golden and maybe even Xavier Worthy. I don't know if that's the right approach, though. I feel like the former 3 have proven it at the NFL level before, whereas Pearsall, Golden, and Worthy haven't. Where do you guys land on these sets of players? Are you still targeting super talented players that have injury or contract concerns, or are you bypassing them and targeting the players who are likely to fill the void in their place?
I mean, maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment here because I've moved Golden and Pearsall up. I've been getting real nervous about the medical reports or getting on Jaden Reed and his foot. Juwan Jennings, though, this is the one that I'm actually getting real nervous about because I had conviction on Juwan Jennings ahead.
Well, he was back at practice this week.
Right. I had conviction on him ahead of Pearsall early in the process. It wasn't even close. I had Juwan Jennings as like a top 60 player and Pearsall was like in the 90s, I think. Where it's like, we've seen something from Pearsall. You know, he played really well at the end of the season. He's a round 1 pick. I could see it. But, like, Jennings is like, this guy kicked butt all year long. Like, I know that this guy can be good. And now he's back at practice, and I'm like, oh, crap. Like, did I get too aggressive with the Pearsall stuff, pushing him up the board? Because, yeah, if he's just good to go, he could just outscore Slick Rick all year long. That wouldn't surprise me.
For me, to answer the question real quick here, I always had Golden ahead of Reed in my rankings. Obviously, he's my flag band player. That's obvious. I moved Pearsall up a lot through the process. Jacob, I feel like I was just way too low on Pearsall to begin with. This is a former first-round pick who they pinpointed for the Shanahan system, and I love this college tape. So I kind of don't even understand why I wasn't high on him to begin with. I think he's more talented than Jennings. I love Jennings from the data standpoint, but I think this is a big jump. So I would have him ahead. And then you know how I feel on the Worthy Rice thing. I was team Worthy. Jacob was team Rice. All right. As we get to the next.
Also in general, the point that you've brought up, and by the way, I think you've credited 3 different Yahoo analysts at this point as to whose quote this is like, don't go looking for injuries. They'll find
Scott
you.
Pianowski. That's the only one.
Okay.
Scott Pianowski. But Harmon has repeated it. I listened to a shot. It just came back up in my head. Damn, I just had, as we filibuster and get ready, I did have a funny comment that I wanted to put up there.
But I think that's relevant. And then also, like, we've seen a lot of recent examples of the holdout receivers have, like Ryan Heath has done research on this where their targets are diminished, especially early on, but it can even linger all season. So that's definitely something to consider. I don't have any hesitation to bet on somebody like Matthew Golden who's not hurt just because we haven't seen it,
Yeah, agreed. And Johnny Airport wants to see Jacob wear a fedora next show.
Do not own any fedoras.
I will do I think you should leave, not still leave. I will correct myself and finally get that right as we move on to our next question, because that's hopefully you've seen that fedora skit. Very, very funny. As we move on to the next question from Nick Nelson 631. And Nick, I really appreciate this review, but I will be honest with you, Nick. Anytime I see a double first name person like Nick Nelson, I'm a little bit skeptical. So let's see if you can win me back over. And he says, the best FF show out there. Also, did I screw up? In a 10-team PPR dynasty league that's very competitive at the top, I recently accepted an offer from one of my top competitors. I gave up a Marion Hampton for Marvin Harrison Jr., a 2028 first, and what's likely to be the 111 or 112 of 2026. Hold on. I don't know if I need to read anything more. And I, quite frankly, Nick, with all due respect, I won't. Not only did you not screw up, this trade is potentially vetoable. Like, straight up, if I was in this league and I checked my homepage and I saw that someone traded a Marion Hampton and got Harrison Jr., a first-round pick in 2028, and another first-round pick in 2026.
It's full PPR, too.
I didn't care if this was non-PPR. This is an insane trade. Like, what is going on here? I don't know how this got through, but I can tell you what, it did, clearly, Nick. And you not only did you not screw up, you made maybe the greatest trade in this league's history.
Yeah, he's a little bit lighter running back now, but it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, who cares? You just got 2 first-round picks. I mean, I would probably take Harrison for Hampton straight up, to be honest.
Maybe.
I still believe in Marvin Harrison. I'm not gonna let 1 year kill me, especially when it wasn't even him. He was like good in reception, and inbreakers. That's Kyler. All right, we'll get on to one more question. I think we have. It's the last one. I'll filibuster until then. And I'm glad we got to, one more thing on Nick Nelson. Despite having that double first name, he was from New York, Jacob. And you know how I feel about people from the tri-state area, the best human beings in the world. Honestly, straight up. Unless we go too south. Once we get into that South Jersey, Philly area, we lose. We run out of steam fast there. But the last one is going to be from Jerome Alex 007. This is obviously a fan of James Bond. Are you a James Bond guy, Jacob?
I don't know if I would claim it. I've watched him.
Did you used to play GoldenEye as a kid, the video game?
Yeah.
I love GoldenEye. And I love more. There was a recent Instagram video that went around of a dad showing his son GoldenEye. And it was just the funniest video. The dad's so into it. And he's just doing all the stuff. He's like, bang. He's like, you got to see this. Is the best game. And his son was like, what? Because, nowadays, GoldenEye, that would be probably the worst game any kid could play. Just a graphic standpoint. But for us, it was amazing. All right. Jerome Alex 007 says, one of my favorite shows. Thank you. One of the best shows for FF. I love listening to you guys. Thank you so much. I have a question. Why is everyone so in on the Jags and Liam Cohen and what he can do for Trevor Lawrence? Yet, I don't hear that for Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. Trevor always gets a pass, but Caleb has only played 1 year, is with a better coach who's done it for longer than Cohen, who took over a productive offense to begin with. Great points. I would even add Caleb has a much better projected offensive line than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, it's totally valid. Like, if you believe in Caleb, I definitely get this. The stuff that Caleb does just makes me so squeamish, dude. It's just like this nervous energy and like panic shutdown state. And it's like, you can't do that. Like you just absolutely can't do that and be taking all these negative plays all the time. I watched him last year and like, I think there was a lot of dysfunction on the team, but it felt like the team straight up didn't believe in him.
Yep.
And that's not something I've really ever seen with Jacksonville. I don't know. The vibes are so scary there. That's where I'm at with Caleb is like, I want to believe. I think this point is valid. I think that, we haven't seen as much from Liam Cohen as we have from Ben Johnson, man. What Ben Johnson has shown us is incredible. And like you made the point, the offensive line, it's possible the infrastructure will be better too. So I think it's totally valid, but it's not for me. There's a lot of other ways to go at QB, and with me not really knowing if any of the guys who are being drafted early-ish for Chicago will actually have the role to back that up, or if Caleb will be able to facilitate the production needed. It's easy to just pass on all of them and be like, I'll take Loveland, I'll take Burden if he's there late, and just hope for the best. That's the way I'll get exposure to this. And otherwise I'm just not.
It's interesting because I should have probably included Caleb Williams and the players I'm most afraid to be wrong about because I don't have any shares, and I could easily see him breaking out this year. And I had a conviction on Caleb Williams when we did draft season last year on Big Blue Banter and we evaluated all the tape. It's not even necessarily based on just things I see on tape. It's a lot of physical stuff, man. He had the closest thing to the Aaron Rodgers release as I've seen from any quarterback. And it's kind of like what Tom Brady said yesterday. Tom Brady said on a show that he believes Aaron Rodgers in his prime was the best quarterback because he was able to get the ball from point A to point B the fastest and most accurately. That's what Caleb's physical skill set is if he actualizes it. The problem is, and we saw flashes of that all throughout his tape, the problem, even at USC, even when they ran quick game, which was rare for them, he was darting quick game and getting the ball out fast and accurately. Point A to point B, the fastest and most accurate. That doesn't even touch on what he's able to do off platform, Jake. When he's forced off the spot, he doesn't need the shoulder square. He can throw from all different angles, the Mahomes stuff. Physically, it's all there. Problem is, mentally, is it there for him? And I think back to something I overlooked in the draft process, that film against Notre Dame, his final season at USC. So much of his career at USC with Lincoln Riley was no pressure, no problems from a pocket presence standpoint because the ball was out, because solutions were there, and he faced a lot of bad defenses in the Pac-12. When he faced that Notre Dame defense last year, college football championship defense, he really struggled. And he struggled with pressure, and he struggled with how to deal with pressure. That was a lot of what we saw last year, right? With the Bears. And we assume this O-line will be better. They've added pieces on paper, but we haven't actually seen it come together yet, despite big names on paper. So it's just a little scary versus Trevor, where it's like, as bad as he kind of has been in the NFL versus what he was expected to be. And we go back to the quarterback rankings podcast, Jacob, his accuracy numbers were way better than Caleb Williams's last year, right? They were more mid-pack in some metrics versus Caleb was like bottom barrel. So there is some reason to believe that Trevor has, at least at the NFL level, done a little more than Caleb.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that's kind of the point he's making, is he's had the opportunity to show us that. After his rookie season, it was awful. Trevor had like 12 touchdowns or something as a rookie.
True. Good point. That's a good, yeah. We'll have to see with Caleb. It's one I'm definitely afraid to be wrong on. All right. That's all the listener questions for today. Did a lot on this show. Had a lot of fun with this one, Jacob. Thank you so much to all the listeners who have supported our show and the viewers. Maybe if we get to a certain number, Caleb, I'm sorry, I just called you Caleb. Jacob, I was back to Jacob Gibbs now. He got rid of Bold Take Jake. The hat's off. You know, people keep putting in the comments, Jake, they want to see us wear a fedora. Maybe if we get to enough a certain number of reviews on iTunes, I will buy a fedora and wear it. So we'll end the show on that. Have a great rest
with the flaps, right?
Of course.
Okay.
And you know what? I might even what's that store that has all the best patterns?
Dave Flashes.
Dave Flashes. I might even take a little trip down to Dave Flashes. They're expensive, but that's because they have all the patterns. So it might be an investment I'm willing to make. All right. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.